these are a few of my favorite things to craft with in clay, and these are the little types of things that I make, and I'll show you the tools I use. I guess my very favorite tool would have to be the little blade, because I use it for everything and it's not so sharp that I cut myself repeatedly. Another kind of cutter that I use are circle cutters, and I love all kinds of circle cutters because you use them for so many things. I even have one that's an oval, and I just keep these. I use them all the time. Heart-shaped cutters, you know, the kind that you just shove on the clay and then you pop it out by pushing the thing. There's heart and the square I use all the time. I don't use the star one very often, or the triangle. I don't think I use that one at all. Another tool I really like is the I think it's an embossing tool. I'm not really sure where I got it. I've had it forever. But the ends are rounded. You have a small rounded little knob, and then you have a slightly bigger knob on the other side. Another thing I use is a razor blade. Use that all the time. And some dental tools. I have lots of dental tools, but really I kind of stick to just these two. And all I do is, when I go to the dentist, I ask them if they have any broken or old dental tools, and they give me things that aren't too sharp, but they're still sharp to me. And broken ones, like this one's broken on one end, but the other side is this rounded flat piece, and it's curved on one side, and it makes the perfect fingernails for tiny miniature clay dolls. I love that one. This one is the tool. It's a, if you find one like this, get it. I don't know what it is as far as the name of it, but it's flat, and that's what I use to blend the clay onto everything else. Like for the back of these ears here, I just would blend it and shove it down, and it's so tiny and so hard that it really worked great. And then on the other side, it's just a little round thing. You can use that for fingernails or toenails too, but it's not quite as good as the other one. Here's this tip tool. It's just a pointed tip to put holes in my beads and pick up little tiny things, little pieces of clay. You can just stick in it and move it, stuff like that. That's no big deal. The big deal on this one is the texture that's on the side, and there's some black clay on here. And there's my 3-year-old helper you're hearing. The texture on the side I can use to put texture on top. I roll it on top of whatever's supposed to be fabric, and then it looks like it's woven. That's a good one. Here's one. Catherine, they're not going to be able to hear. Here is a, let's see, it's a color shaper. It's just a weird point. This one's a 0 angle chisel firm, and these cost about $5 each. You can get a set, some at an art store, and you those used to smooth. 2 more smoothing tools are 2 different sizes of knitting needles. And I don't knit, but these plastic things have no creases or ridges or anything. They're just on both sides the same, and they have a nice little point. You can get into little bitty areas and really smooth down. Another thing I use is tin foil for texture, like bread or oranges, all kinds of texture. Use the bigger tin foil that's not quite wadded up too much for oranges and stuff, and then the tiny little texture it's really squished tight and little for smaller foods. I use old clay. I put it around a needle. Actually, it's an embroidery needle, so it's not too sharp, but this makes nice points into your clay. And then I use old clay for, I have another video that shows it, how I make these, but I take the old clay and I squish it on to, like, say, the tin foil, and then I bake it, and then I have a tin foil pattern on the old clay. So keep all your old little chunks of clay, and you can make all kinds of textures there. Here I tried to make like a strawberry texture, but it doesn't work. Another one of my very favorite things is this old board, and it's actually for like sewing to cut out patterns. Or scrapbooking, and it's just a cutting mat, and you can cut on it and it won't damage your table underneath, and you can get clay all over it and it can look really bad, and paint and everything else, and you know, keeps your work surface nice. Another favorite of mine, though it's not really, let's see if I can back it up here, it's not really a tool. Another favorite of mine, though it's not really a tool, is the putty, mold putty. And all it is it's called Amazing Mold Putty. I think that's the actual name of it, yeah. It has these two parts in it, and they're two different, I don't know, they're like clay, they're squishy. And you just open it up and you take equal amounts of the yellow and the white. You squish them together into a ball, and you'll come up with something like this. You leave it to air dry for 30 minutes, and then you have a mold. Then you can stick clay in there and have a repeat of whatever you started off with. So that's the nicest mold, easiest to use for people who don't want to learn all about mold making. They just want to make simple things, non-toxic. Shows a baby on it, and they're doing it the kid's hand, and then they make a mold. Then they pour resin in it, and there's from the same company, Amazing Casting Resin, and you can just pour equal parts. And yeah, it's all stained up here. You can pour equal parts. There's 2 bottles in here too, and they're liquid. You pour them from, you measure in 1 cup, measure in 1 cup, pour them into a 3rd cup, mix it up for, I don't know, a minute or so, and then you pour it into your mold like this. You would pour it in, and then you wait 5 minutes, but it's better to wait longer than that. And then you can pull out an actual replica. It'll be white, not clear, so it doesn't work for Jell-O, but it'll have a nice replica of whatever you started off with. Those are my favorite tools for clay work.